Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Let's do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. Staying with the football theme here. So last night we did have some local teams. We'll start off in your neck of the woods where Chi High putting on an offensive show against Eau Claire Memorial last night.
Yeah, pulling away. I mean, that was a one-score game at halftime. Chippewa ended up winning 33-6. Jalen Smith returns the opening kickoff of the second half, 91 yards for a touchdown. It seemed like that was kind of the thing that broke it open a little bit. A very physical game. I mean, with Chippewa, you're going to get the run game, but there are some passes in there. But, Eau Claire Memorial is able to, move the ball on the ground a little bit too. I mean, these are two teams that combined for more than 500 yards on the ground. Chippewa had 375, but Memorial had 155 too. And it was a physical game. I mean, obviously this is a non-conference game in name only. I mean, Chippewa Falls and Eau Claire have been playing football as long as Chippewa Falls have football, and that goes back to 1895.
Right.
So. But a big win for the Cardinals. I mean, I think these first 2 weeks for the Old Abes. And I talked with Coach Westcott after the game. Like, there's things to be encouraged about there. When you look at how they played with Hudson until Hudson pulled away, kind of a bit of a similar script last night with Chippewa. But, I think a Memorial team that's heading in the right direction. It's just, these things take time.
Right.
And
you got to have patience.
Exactly. But I think there's things to be encouraged about there. But still, a big win for Chippewa coming off a game against Stevens Point where they felt like, they were really in it until it kind of got away a little bit in the fourth quarter and kind of a play here, a play there. But being able to run the ball big time, the defense kind of bent but didn't break. And then, really closed out strong. I mentioned the big play in special teams. And, now Chippewa's going to roll into the Big Rivers opener next week. And it's a big one because they go to play New Richmond, the defending conference champions, on the road. So, But overall in the night, among the 7, games that were, all between kind of a Big Rivers versus Wisconsin Valley, the Big Rivers won 6 of them. River Falls picked up a 54-21 win over D.C. Everest. New Richmond 48-10 over North. Hudson 30-14 over Wausau West. Rice Lake 30-14 over Rapids. And Menominee 30-16 over Marshfield, with Stevens Point being the Wisconsin Valley team to win. That was 41-20 over Superior. So, coming into next week, with the Big Rivers getting underway, I mean, it's going to be strong again. Yeah. I mean, New Richmond won it last year. They looked probably last night. They're probably a favorite to do it again this year, but they're going to have some tough competition throughout. It's going to be interesting to see how it develops and kind of how things lay out there.
Right. I know, Dr. Crow, part of the staff of Regis.
Regis picking up the shutout win over Bloomer 49-0. Last night, Osseo fell 41-0 Glenwood City, but shout out to the Thunder because last week they snapped a long losing streak that went back several years with their big win. I believe it was over in Necedah. So I think that was a 30-some game skid. And even last year, Osseo didn't play a varsity season. They were playing a JV season, but they're back on varsity, and they've got a win, and that might not be their last win this year under their belt. So shout out to that that team and that staff because that can be a tough thing to do. Kind of come back when you haven't played a varsity game, and then but obviously they get a younger group of kids that they're confident in, so they're going to roll into conference play next week, looking to kind of build off that opener and maybe learn some lessons from a tough loss last night to Glenwood City.
I want to go back to a couple games from last week here quick, but just how impressive was that of Gilman over Owen Withee last night in 8-man last week in 8-man football?
I mean, it's impressive, but that's a bit of a different Owen Withee team from last year, but still to come out of the gates for Gilman and get that big win. I mean, that's a team that that in the North Central East Conference this year. I mean, if you're going to ask my opinion, it's probably come down to Gilman and McDonald. And they play later on in September. That might be the game. Thorpe is another team that's going to be, I think is going to have some wins being there. Owen Withee's still going to win some games and be in that conversation. I mean, that's too well coached of a team to not have some success this year. So, but, that's just the nature of the beast. Right. Kind of, with Gilman, they're a younger team too, but they got some big kids back. You kind of fast forward to last night. It's the other half of that conference, but New Auburn with the big win over Holcomb, they're 2-0 now too. we're maybe early on kind of starting to see some of these 8-player teams. And remember, the 8-player season is 1 week shorter.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's only 8 weeks. So week 9 for 11-man will be the first round of the playoffs, and they expanded the playoffs too. So, but New Auburn was a team that had a case to make the playoffs last year. They were 6-2. They beat a playoff team. It wasn't, Gilman's same boat. So, I mean, those are two teams that were legitimately good last year, and they brought back, some key players on there. So, and you kind of fast forward to tonight. I'm going to be at DeRay Field for McDonald and Clayton.
That's who I was going to ask about next.
That's a state-ranked battle. That's two ranked 8-player teams. I think McDonald's 2nd, and Clayton's 7th or 8th. So, I mean, that's the last 2 times those teams have played, they've been close. McDonald's won the last 2 meetings, but they've been by a combined 4 points. So that should be, I think, a pretty good one.
Absolutely. And you've got some switching a little bit over. You got volleyball that you're going to be watching today.
I'm going to be John. If you're watching the live stream, you can see me. I'll be jaunting over to Menominee after this morning to make some rounds for the UW Stout Sprawl, which is going on, which is a big 40-some team tourney that takes place at Johnson Fieldhouse and just at on the campus at Stout. So it's I would say probably the premier local early season tournament for volleyball, just because you have so many local teams. I mean, so many teams from the Big Rivers and the Western Clover Belt, the Lakeland, defending Division III champion Barron is there, I believe. So I mean, it's just loaded, and it's always fun. Volleyball is one of those sports, and this event is the example of it, where if you're a really good smaller school team, you can play a bigger school team. If you're a McDonald, you can go up and play a Chippewa Falls or a Memorial and probably hold your own in there. But it's always such a mind blower for me when you look and you'll see here's Eau Claire North and they're playing Prairie Farm. But you can do it. It's one of those sports. You obviously you can't do that in football, or there's certain sports you really can't. But it's just interesting to me. And it's fun just to kind of see that. And it's always such a big event. There's always so many people there. So I'm looking forward. It's my first volleyball matchup of the year. So I'm looking forward to trying to remember how to shoot photos for volleyball.
Nice. I know we got tennis going on, too, because I know, my good buddy Jake, who's the women's head coach from Medford Tennis, they're actually going to be over here because it's Altoona, Eau Claire North. It's kind of one of their invites and groups over there too. So the tennis season's
everything's pretty much underway now. We had some cross country yesterday. We'll have some more this weekend into next week. Soccer's underway. We've already had some non-conference games around the area. So yeah, I mean,
golf's been
going for a couple weeks already. So.
Right. Yep. So. Definitely with schools. Some schools have started. Some will start next week and such, but fully underway at this point.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, at this point, we are full speed ahead for the fall.
Right. So, all right, that's your local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center.